You wake up from a dream, and for a few seconds, you don't know where you are. It felt real, too real. People you hadn't seen in decades, places you didn't even remember anymore. And this has been happening more often, hasn't it? Not a nightmare, not anxiety, just a dream, too vivid. With colors you could swear you had seen, with people you hadn't thought about in years, with details so specific. They were almost embarrassing to tell. If this has been happening to you in recent years, pay attention for the next few minutes. There is a reason for this, but it's not the one you're imagining. And in many cases, this is a sign that your brain is doing something more sophisticated than before. I want to tell you something that very few science channels talk about directly with people over 60. The architecture of your sleep has changed, not in a way you need to fix, in a way that has effects, and some of them are, honestly, fascinating. One of those effects is that dreams become different, more vivid, sometimes stranger, sometimes more emotionally intense. And this is not a sign that something is wrong. This is a sign that your brain is doing a specific kind of work at night, while you sleep. Let me start by naming something. Most people don't know about their own sleep. When you sleep, your brain goes through cycles. Each cycle has different stages: light sleep, deep sleep, and a special stage called REM. REM stands for rapid eye movement. It's the stage where your eyes move under your eyelids, your body is paralyzed, and your brain is almost as active as when you're awake. This is the stage where most vivid dreams happen. Now, here's the interesting part, and this is where almost no one goes. The total amount of REM sleep in a night changes throughout life. Babies spend a lot of time in REM. Young adults spend about 20 to 25% of the night in REM. And after 60, that number usually decreases a bit. So how is it possible for dreams to become more vivid if REM sleep is decreasing with age? That doesn't seem to make sense. And this is exactly where most explanations stop. But this is where things start to get interesting. The answer has to do with something called REM pressure. But before we get into that, think with me for a second. What happens when you have less time to do something important? You speed up, you focus, you make every minute count. That's exactly what the brain starts to do at night. Research shows an interesting pattern. When REM sleep becomes shorter or more fragmented, dreams don't disappear. They become more intense, more emotionally charged. So it's not that you're dreaming more, it's that your dreams are more concentrated. During the night, the human brain does at least 3 important things during REM. First, it consolidates memories. It transfers experiences from the day into long-term storage. Second, it processes emotions, especially the ones that weren't fully digested during the day. And third, it does something fascinating that researchers call autobiographical integration. This is when the brain pulls together old memories, current emotions, and people from different periods of your life, and combines them into a scene that never actually happened. That's why, in a dream, you might be in your childhood home with your current coworker and your grandmother, who passed away decades ago, all sitting together having coffee. That's not chaos. That's your brain doing archaeology. It's not pulling random memories. It's looking for connections that still make sense today. And here's the part that changes everything. Older brains have much more material to work with. 60-something years of memories, decades of people you've known, thousands of places you've been, an entire internal library that a 25-year-old brain simply doesn't have yet. When this more experienced brain enters REM, It starts making connections that a younger brain wouldn't be able to make. It might mix the emotion of a recent goodbye with the smell of your mother's house. It might bring back a face you haven't thought about in 40 years because that person taught you something that's still relevant today. And your brain knows that before you do. There's a term in sleep neuroscience that I love, hyperassociative mode. It's when the brain stops thinking in straight lines and starts connecting everything with everything. And here's the fascinating part. The more life you've lived, the more material your brain has to work with. More faces, more places, more emotions. So your dreams don't just become stranger, they become richer. Now, another interesting part, and this is something that often goes unnoticed. Research suggests that older adults often remember their dreams better than when they were younger. And this isn't because the dreams are worse or more disturbing. It's because the waking pattern has changed. After 60, many people wake up more often during the night. It could be to use the bathroom, changes in body temperature, or noises that wouldn't have woken them before. Sleep becomes more fragmented. That by itself isn't necessarily a good thing. Fragmented sleep has its downsides, but it has a curious side effect. If you wake up right after a REM phase, you remember the dream. If you wake up from deep sleep, you remember nothing. Young adults usually sleep through the night and forget most of their dreams by morning. Older adults, who wake up briefly multiple times, catch more snapshots of these dreams while they're happening. That's why your grandmother or grandfather could tell dreams in so much detail. It's not that their dreams were more impressive, it's that the brain had just finished dreaming when they woke up. The memory of the dream was still fresh. Now, if you wake up like that sometimes, you know exactly what this is. Your brain caught you in the act, right in the middle of a nighttime movie. Here's the part I want to leave with you. For a long time, sleep in older adults was talked about as something that gets worse. Less REM, fragmented sleep, nighttime awakenings. All of this was treated as decline, but researchers have started to look at this differently. Over the last 10 to 15 years, sleep does change, but change is not the same as getting worse. Older brains seem to have developed a different nighttime strategy. Instead of long, uninterrupted REM phases, they have shorter but denser sessions. Instead of forgetting everything, they remember richer fragments. Instead of linear dreams, they produce integrative narratives that weave together an entire life. If you've been dreaming about people you haven't thought about in decades, those people are probably coming back because something today resonates with something they taught you back then. Your brain is having a silent conversation between who you are now and who your teacher was, your childhood neighbor, that first boyfriend. This is a kind of nighttime intelligence that a 25-year-old brain simply doesn't have. Not because it's less, because it doesn't have the internal library yet to do this. Your vivid dreams at 60, 70, 80 are a sign that your brain is using everything you've accumulated, every person, every smell, every emotion, every silence. You are, in a way, a living archive. And at night, that archive starts to speak, not randomly, but connecting parts of your life that, when you're awake, you don't always have access to. And that is, honestly, a beautiful thing. In the next 48 hours, do one small thing. Before going to bed, leave a notebook on your bedside table. You don't need to write anything yet, just leave it there. There's an interesting effect documented in dream research Knowing there's a notebook waiting subtly changes what the brain does at night. It starts to treat the images as something that can be told. And when you wake up, more often, something stays. If something comes, write down a word, a smell, a color, a person. You'll be surprised by what your brain has been stitching together while you thought you were just resting. Most health channels will tell you to sleep better, and improving sleep is important. If you wake up tired, if you have sleep apnea, if you can't fall asleep, those are things to talk to a doctor about. But vivid dreams themselves, that feeling of waking up from a dense scene, at 5 in the morning, the memory of old faces, in most cases, that's not a problem. It's nighttime work. Your brain is doing something. We're still learning to fully understand. It's processing 60, 70, 80 years of life while you rest. And sometimes it shows you pieces of that process in the form of dreams. The next time you wake up from a dream like that, instead of thinking, "That was a weird dream," think this. Maybe your brain is organizing something you haven't yet been able to understand while awake. It's not confusion, it's meaning, still under construction. And the most curious part? You only notice it when you wake up. If this made sense to you, you're in the right place. The second half blueprint exists for this, to look at this phase of life with curiosity, not fear. If you want to keep discovering what your body and mind are doing after 60, subscribe. New videos every Monday. And if your issue isn't vivid dreams, but waking up exhausted even after 8 hours, that's a different biological signal. I explain it in the video on your screen now. Tell me in the comments, what was the last dream that made you wake up thinking, "Where did my brain even get that from?" I read the comments. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.